Maybe before we go to the health break, I know the picture is gloomy about our quasi-government institutions, but responding to your campaign messages, there's one institution which has done something. Maybe it would be best we break with that information. I didn't want them, but I can ask the MD for ZESCO to come and give a brief of one of the few deliverables you have done so far. Mr. Mapani.
The President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, the Cabinet Ministers here present, Permanent Secretaries, Senior Government Officials, may I just say, ladies and gentlemen, this is on the spot call out, so I'll be on the spot. For ZESCO, basically what we've done is 3rd of December we got into office, and in ZESCO we did find a few issues that needed immediate attention. And we did not look back, we just looked at what we had and decided to tackle them as they came through. One of the most alarming things was actually the backlog that we found. 67,000 people had paid ZESCO in connections so that they could get electricity. Some of these connection payments went as far back as 2016. A few outlier cases, 2014 and 2010. And so we worked out a mechanism to see how this could be done. The materials for these connections were not available, were not there. The funds for these connections were also not available. So we had to borrow this money through permission from the board. We were allowed to borrow these funds from our own operations and also through some financier who was willing to relieve us of this immediate debt. And from the 3rd of December until about the 31st of March, the 67,000 customers had dropped down to just below 33,000. We had managed to connect approximately 34,000 in the 3 months. We went further on that score, and as I stand now, we are slightly below 20,000. Our biggest, thank you. Our biggest drawback, I think, was a derailment in the procurement of poles. I think there was a lot of talk about procurement of poles. We wanted to get poles from the manufacturers, the actual people who manufacture poles, because then it was going to be cheaper for us, and it was going to carry us more mileage for the little money that we had to borrow to actually finance these projects. That process, I think there were some claims or that ZESCO was getting poles from outside when actually these poles could be gotten inside. Maybe, I don't know, the CEO for ZAFICO is here and CFC, but we went ahead and indicated to those who approached us that we had given ZAFICO enough orders and they were not delivering on time. And so they were sitting with close to 44,000 poles. ZESCO was looking for 185,000 poles. And even the 44,000 poles, as I stand now, haven't been delivered. Equally, CFC, we mopped up whatever we could mop up from CFC yards. So for the local market, we had mopped what we needed to mop out. And I think that's our goal, to ensure that jobs stay in the country. But we did not want to run to the press and start talking about these things because we knew exactly where we wanted to go and what we wanted to achieve, to connect the customers who had been pending for at least 5 years or 6 years. So we went ahead and continued the process of procurement of poles. We were getting some from Zimbabwe and some from South Africa so that we could actually get these done. So we lost close to 45 days in the process as the claims on poles and also the appeals that we had to wait on. That was one achievement. The other one is we also found a debt Most of it, this debt is actually sitting on independent power producers, specifically Mamba Coriolis, Itej Power Company, and Dollar Energy. The first thing we had to do is to look at the tariffs. The tariff with Itej Power Company was sitting at 11 USA cents on average to a unit, and the average selling price for ZESCO is 7.2 cents per unit. Before you even start, you are making a loss. So Itej Power Company had been billing ZESCO with an extra 4 cents, if you like, or 3.8 if your numbers are right, for the last 7-8 years. But we looked at the tariff and worked backward. We realized that the infrastructure for Itej Power Company, which is owned, by the way, by ZESCO 50% and Tata 50%. The main infrastructure, which is the reservoir, the dam in Itej, was built by the government a long time ago, because this is the actual storage for energy for Kafue Gorge Power Station and now Kafue Gorge Lower Power Station as well. So with that infrastructure in place, the question was, how could the tariff be so high when the main infrastructure, which is the reservoir, was already done? In fact, even most of the civil works were already done. To activate the Itej Power Station construction, it was just to clean up the penstocks and install the electromechanical equipment to make the power station function. So we looked at the tariff in detail and basically walked back to commissioning operation date, and we discovered that that tariff could not be anything above 6 cents. So with Tata and ZESCO and our engineers on the ground, we sat down and walked through the models which were submitted to the ERB for approval, which were approved at 11 cents. We discovered that actually that tariff was 5.46 cents. So by recalculating backward to commission operation date, thank you very much. By recalculating to operation date, we actually managed to hive off slightly over $211 million in debt, just by sitting down and looking at this thing in detail. Thank you. For Mamba Coriolis, we did a similar process, and we realized that Mamba Coriolis was actually built on a premise that they are going to build a 600 megawatt plant. As we stand now, Mamba Coriolis built only a 300 megawatt plant. Because of that, they, of course, calculate their tariff based on the investment they had made. The civil works for that power station have all been done. The mine and also extractives anticipated for the power production have already been secured. And so the tariff was definitely going to be very high, because you are now using half the capacity to cover the entire investment that had been made. We sat down with Mamba and encouraged them to go ahead and ensure that the next 300 megawatts were done. But also the actual tariff. I think when we looked at the numbers, we realized that we could actually work backward and achieve something. We did achieve something on Mamba, from 13 USA cents per unit to 9.06 USA cents per unit. That's a huge recovery. And so ZESCO will not have to pay an extra $8 million to Mamba Coriolis every month. We now also are able to pay Mamba Coriolis a full invoice when they invoice us, and also we're able to pay Itej Power Company a full invoice when they invoice us, meaning for the two IPPs, there will be no more debt increase. So now the debt is locked. We now just look for some relief. I hope the ST is here, and we shall be discussing in camera to see how he can help us restructure that. He's already been talking to us, and I think we are looking forward, and I think the things are looking up for ZESCO's debt. And then we had one other pending matter. You are aware of the bulk supply agreement with CEC, which went dead on the 30th of March 2020 until the 1st of April 2022. So we started negotiations with CEC January 2022 and managed to reach closure on that bulk supply agreement on the 29th of March 2022. So from 1st April 2022, we now have an amicable trading platform between CEC and ZESCO. That means that now we can also recoup some of the monies between 2020 and 2022. So the 2 years of dead commercial platform have been activated. We've negotiated with CEC. Preempt this one, but I hope it's okay. We've agreed that the first 1 year, which is 2021, we'll use the BSA standing, which expired earlier, halfway, and then we'll also go halfway back with the new BSA so that we meet halfway. And a lot of noise was on the BSA that maybe ZESCO was hiding something and that maybe there were undercurrents and stuff like that. We basically negotiated on a clean platform. ZESCO in this case actually gained a lot more from the BSA, of course without crippling CEC. We reduced the tenure of that BSA from the original 23 years to now 13 years, so that gives us time. And also we can negotiate quicker between CEC and ZESCO. So that's a huge move from 23 years to 13. And also in terms of the actual tariff, of course, as we managed to get the costing done well, and the tariff also went up a bit by about $4 per megawatt per month for CEC, which also is a good thing. That gives us an extra $3 million or so in terms of invoicing. And CEC has been paying so far from the 1st of April. So we are moving on, and we hope that we'll get there. I think, Deputy, yes, I think that should be enough. I shouldn't bore you with the rest of the stuff. Thank you very much. Wait. Okay. One more. May I just see any one person who has received a message that they have been load shed since the 3rd of December? Just one. That you have been load shed, not that you are off supply. Thank you very much.